And away we go. Look at that
The
pretty
attraction
picture.
of guilt.
It's so attractive. I can't wait to hear more about it.
You're right. All that good guilt, starting at paragraph 10.
Bring it.
The attraction of guilt produces fear of love, for love would never look on guilt at all. It is the nature of love to look upon only the truth. I was reading from the big book here. I'm
No
going to get
problem.
back over to the screen.
All
It is
good.
the nature of love to look upon only the truth, for their love sees itself in the truth, for which love would unite in holy union and completion. As love must look past fear, so must fear see love not. For love contains the end of guilt, as surely as fear depends on guilt. Love is attracted only to love, overlooking guilt completely. Love sees no fear. Being wholly without attack, love could not be afraid. Fear is attracted to what love sees not, and each believes that what the other looks upon does not exist. Mutually exclusive. Fear looks on guilt with just the same devotion that love looks on itself. And fear or love, each has messengers which it sends forth, and which return to fear or love with messages written in the language in which their going forth was asked.
Cool. We will perceive whatever we place our thoughts upon. When we believe that a situation will be frightening, our senses peek out witnesses. Excuse me, they seek out witnesses in the environment for its preconceived beliefs. Perceptions follow our beliefs. The thought system of ego is fear-based. The Holy Spirit's is based on love.
Love's messengers are gently sent and return with messages of love and gentleness. The messengers of fear are harshly ordered to seek out guilt and cherish every scrap of evil and of sin that the messengers of fear can find, losing none of them on pain of death, and laying this evidence respectfully before their Lord and Master, fear. Perception cannot obey two masters, each asking for messages of different things in different languages. What fear would feed upon, love overlooks. What fear demands, love cannot even see. The fierce attraction that guilt holds for fear is wholly absent from love's gentle perception. What love would look upon is meaningless to fear and quite invisible.
What we value will determine which master we follow. Although we speak of fear or love as the master, these are merely the surrogates for either the egoic or the Holy Spirit's thought system. We will either value illusion's specialness, which was born out of the belief in separation being real, or we'll value the truth, which is the love of God. There's no common ground. A decision for one is a decision to exclude the other. You can only follow one thought system at any given time. As decision maker, we're constantly making a choice between which belief system we will follow.
Relationships in this world are the result of how the world is seen, and how the world is seen depends on which emotion, love or fear, was called on to send its messengers to look upon the world and return with word of what the messenger of either love or fear saw. Fear's messengers are trained through terror, and the messengers of fear tremble when their master calls on them to serve fear. For fear is merciless, even to its friends. The messengers of fear steal guiltily away in hungry search of guilt. For fear's messengers are kept cold and starving and made very vicious by their master, who allows them to feast only upon what they return to their master, which is fear. No little shred of guilt escapes the messengers of fear's hungry eyes, and in the messengers' savage search for sin, they pounce on any living thing they see and carry any living thing they see, screaming to their master to be devoured.
Mm, 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 mm. The messengers of fear, which are sin and guilt, are indiscriminate in their desire to find anything that they can project their predetermined beliefs on. Truth is irrelevant. Anyone will do. And if no one appears to be available, the messenger will blame you. Belief in sin and guilt leads to blame, which is projected out into the universe. The messengers of fear are well-schooled guilt throwers, throwing blame on everything in sight, including you.
Send not these savage messengers into the world to feast upon the world and to prey upon reality. For fear's messengers will bring you word of bones and skin and flesh. Fear's messengers have been taught to seek for the corruptible and to return with gorges filled with things decayed and rotten. To fear's messengers, such corruptible things are beautiful. Ooh, because they seem to allay their savage pangs of hunger. For fear's messengers are frantic with the pain of fear and would avert the punishment of their master, fear, who sends them forth by offering their master, who is fear, what fear's messengers hold dear.
The only thing to fear is fear itself, right?
Yes.
The world of form is the home of the temporary. The world of perception is changeable. It arose from the belief in sin, guilt, and fear. And the body is the ego's symbol for sin. The body bears witness for the ego that you are not eternal and that God's Son is impure and born to sin. Our minds have been trained to be excellent guilt throwers and better guilt catchers. We are always trying to blame others to explain why we're not guilty. It's their fault. If we believe that we're guilty, we try and explain why it was not our fault. He made me do it. The body serves as an excellent role model for victim consciousness. Jesus, that's a great line. That's a great line. By identifying our mind as the body appears to prove that the separation was real. The corruptible is anything in the world of perception that believes in the reality of sin, guilt, and fear. When we're not exclusively following the guidance of the Holy Spirit, we're vulnerable to fear-based thinking. When we accept the at-one-ment for ourselves, we are embraced in the invulnerability of love. The good stuff.
The Holy Spirit is giving you love's messengers to send instead of those you trained through fear. Love's messengers are as eager to return to you what they hold dear as are the others. If you send love's messengers of forgiveness and truth forth, they will see only the blameless and the beautiful, the gentle and the kind. Love's messengers of forgiveness and truth will be as careful to let no little act of charity, no tiny expression of forgiveness, no little breath of love escape their notice. And forgiveness and truth will return with all the happy things they found to share them lovingly with you. Be not afraid of love's messengers. Love's messengers offer you salvation. Theirs are the messages of safety, for love's messengers of forgiveness and truth see the world as kind.
When we follow the thought system of the Holy Spirit, we view all of our experiences as either an expression of love or a cry for love. Perceiving our universe as a friendly and supportive place, our mind tells our physical senses to seek out and find the witnesses of love. All events are neutral. When we decide how we will choose to perceive an event, a positive or negative image is given to that event. Do we look through those sunglasses of love or through the shit glasses of fear? Whichever we choose, these glasses will dictate how we view our world.
That was very visually. If you send forth only the messengers the Holy Spirit gives you, wanting no messages but the Holy Spirit's messengers, you will see fear no more. The world will be transformed before your sight, cleansed of all guilt, and softly brushed with beauty. The world contains no fear that you laid not upon the world, and no fear that you cannot ask love's messengers to remove from the world and see the world still. The Holy Spirit has given you his messengers to send you to your brother and return to you with what love sees. The Holy Spirit's messengers have been given to replace the hungry dogs of fear you sent instead. And the Holy Spirit's messengers go forth to signify the end of fear.
Hear, hear. The Holy Spirit's messengers of love, which are forgiveness and truth, will reinterpret your misperception of our world from a fearful to a supportive place. These messengers of love will bear witness to the truth that separation was only a bad dream. God's child remains sinless and guiltless and has no reason to fear. We are not the body. We still remain eternally as God created us, perfect, whole, and complete.
Love, too, would set a feast before you on a table covered with a spotless cloth, set in a quiet garden where no sound but singing and a softly joyous whispering is ever heard. This is a feast that honors your holy relationship and at which everyone is welcome as an honored guest. And in a holy instant, grace is said by everyone together as they join in gentleness before the table of communion. And I will join you there at this feast that honors your holy relationship, as long ago I promised and promise still. For in your new holy relationship am I made welcome. And where I am made welcome, there I am.
Jesus, like the Holy Spirit, patiently awaits for our invitation. Jesus, like God himself, is always found where truth and love abide. When we follow the thought system of the Holy Spirit, we abide in love. Our special relationships are transformed into holy ones that joins the sonship together. Jesus, Christ consciousness, and the Holy Spirit, like us, are part of the shared oneness that is the mind of God. In the world of perception, we view our world dualistically. Because of this perceived duality, ACIM describes it as if the separation is real, but in time, the separation appears real. But in eternity time, like all illusions, must also pass away. In reality, there's only the joined oneness. This oneness abides in and is the truth of that one self.
I am made welcome in the state of grace, which means you have at last forgiven me. For I became the symbol of your sin, and so I had to die instead of you. To the ego, sin means death, and so egoic atonement is achieved through murder. Egoic salvation is looked upon as a way by which the Son of God was killed instead of you. Yet, would I offer you my body, you whom I love, knowing the body's littleness? Or would I teach that bodies cannot keep us apart? My body was of no greater value than your body. No better means for communication of salvation, but not its source. No one can die for anyone, and death does not atone for sin. But you can live to show the body is not real. The body does appear to be the symbol of sin, while you believe that the body can get you what you want. While you believe that the body can give you pleasure, you will also believe that the body can bring you pain. To think you could be satisfied and happy with so little as the body is to hurt yourself and to limit the happiness that you would have call upon pain to fill your meager store and make your life complete. This is completion as the ego sees life. For guilt creeps in where happiness has been removed and substitutes guilt for happiness. Communion is another kind of completion, which goes beyond guilt, because communion goes beyond the body.
Because of the ego's belief in separation, sin, guilt, and fear. Because of the ego's belief in separation, sin, guilt, and fear arose. The ego has distorted the true God of love into an idol of fear. The ego sees the body as the symbol for sin. This requires that punishment and sacrifice must be administered before the sin can be forgiven. The ego's plan for salvation is to protect all sin and guilt upon something else. Project all sin and guilt upon something else, so that you, the sinner, will not have to be punished for your sins. See, it's everybody else.
Mm-hmm.
In fundamentalist Christianity, Jesus becomes the scapegoat for everybody else's sin, so that the sinners get a free ride. This is typical egoic thinking. In Jesus, the ego finds its ultimate victim for the projection of victim consciousness. We get to project our guilt on someone who now must pay for our crimes. Since the body is viewed as our essence, Jesus' body must be sacrificed through his death. This egoic version of salvation ensures that we remain limited and incapable of any decision-making abilities that could allow us to self-correct our erroneous thinking. Something outside of ourselves must do this for us. We always remain sinners under the ego's thought system because we will always remain less than whole, perfect, and complete. Jesus was an embodiment of Christ consciousness. To both the Holy Spirit and Jesus, the body is a neutral communication device. The body is neither our spiritual essence nor a symbol of sin. The resurrection, not the crucifixion, was the message of Jesus' earthly death. The resurrection proved that we are not a body. Jesus states that there are no victims and no one can be hurt. Jesus was no different from us. Jesus says that we could look upon him as an older brother who's worthy of our respect. The only workable plan for our return to wholeness and knowledge is God's plan. God's plan is the at-one-ment. It removes sin, guilt, and fear in exchange for the truth. In the atonement, God proclaims that the sonship is and always remains eternally sinless and guiltless as she created us. The only requirement is that we must accept the at-one-ment for ourselves. No one can do this for you. You must do it yourself. This completes your return to the one self. And tomorrow, we'll look at the second obstacle. All right.
Okay. Thank you.
My pleasure.